Hello, Yolanda. Thank you very much for having me. And let me thank you as well, the University of Zaragoza, for this invitation. Unfortunately, due to the increasing cases of COVID and the consequence measures applied, I'm not in the beautiful city of Zaragoza, which I don't know so far, and I will have, and I hope I will have the opportunity to visit sometime soon. But in any case, I hope you can still enjoy my humble contribution for today's conference. One of the oldest and perhaps most important aspects of the human society, or the building of the human society, has been the notion of belonging. Today I will be talking about citizen and citizenship in a way that will provide some ideas or raise some questions, because I think these conferences are also useful not only to increase something in our knowledge, but also to raise more questions so we can be curious enough to look for answers. So in the framework of this conference, and in what regards the citizenship and the EU citizenship, that will be the course of these of my contribution today. So the notion of belonging, human society. There's been always the idea of those who belong to the polity and those who don't. If we think about cities and then we think about states, they were built around the idea that people felt they belong to a group of persons that share and protect common interests. If we think about tribes as well, it also applies. So societies were or have been developed simultaneously as religion, culture, customs. It is a complex structure. The relationship between citizen and citizenship means the exclusive relationship between a state and its population and its people, and those who belong to its political and legal order. It is an intimate relationship as it entails both the protection and privileges, duties the state has towards the citizen, but also the obligations citizens have towards the state. The case of the European citizenship reaches another threshold of transnational and dual citizenship, where a person is both a citizen of a EU member state, but also a citizen of the European Union. However, the concept may fall short to spark the belonging notion in some parts of the EU. If we take into consideration, or if we recall that the EU was created as an economic union before it was a political project. And the economic union was created in the framework of building peace in a continent that was been devastated by several wars and battles. So the origin of the EU is of an economic essence or nature before it became a political project that aimed to unite these diverse cultural nations spread around Europe. So the legal aspect of it is also undoubtedly more complex. But I'm sure many of the panelists here today, they are better prepared and equipped to talk about, to explain to you about the historical and legal perspective of the concept of citizenship and the development of the EU citizenship. What I think I can offer to you today is the perception as a member of the European Parliament, but also as a Portuguese, as a European, of what are the protection duties that the EU has towards its citizens. The privilege Europeans have of being EU citizens, the obligations Europeans should have towards the Union, and finally, how the EU integration should move towards, should move forward, having in mind this sense of belonging. So the notion of European citizenship was only introduced with the Maastricht Treaty in 1993. Every person holding the nationality, the citizenship of a member state of the European Union is equality of a citizen to the Union itself. And for the first time in history, people became citizens of not only a state, a nation, but of an international organization or international club, which is the European Union. So the citizenship concept gains a new meaning with its application within the European Union. In shaping this new citizenship concept, the European Court of Justice had a tremendous influence through its case law. It has shaped citizenship of the Union as independent from and in some respects superior to national citizenship. This European citizenship gave Europeans new economic, political, civil, and social rights that everyone can enjoy anywhere they are in any EU member state's territory. The free movement of persons, goods, services, and capital is something that was built around the idea of European citizenship. This is what the EU has to offer to its citizens, the possibility to enjoy anywhere the rights that in the past were only able to enjoy within its own country territory. So they also have the right to vote for the European Parliament elections, which is actually the only European Union institution directly elected by the people, and that elects politicians that represent their interests during the design of new European legislation in the relationship with other non-EU countries, and guarantee that no member state goes against European law. This is in the end, it's more the job of the European Court of Justice. But the European Parliament also contributes to make sure that we create laws that are not against the European law, of course. And the members of the European Parliament, as the representatives of not only the European people, but also European citizens. And it's actually interesting, just to make a quick remark, we tend in the European Parliament to assume that we are the representatives of our own election member states. But the truth is that by the treaties, the members of the European Parliament, they represent the Europeans and not only the member states where they are elected. This is difficult to follow in practice, because there's always the tendency to somehow work or protect the interests of the national interests of the member state where we are elected for. But the truth is that we represent the European citizens, and not only, in my case, the Portuguese citizens. So just also a brief note, I heard in the last intervention of the previous panel, there was a reference to Hungary and Poland. I believe this would require a better or more time to dig in what is happening in both of these countries. But actually, it is the European Parliament and not the Council nor the Commission that has been more vocal on the need to take action on the governments that are breaching the EU laws. It is the Parliament saying that the EU cannot continue to transfer European funds, for example, without any significant reforms being made, as opposed to the ones that were made in the judiciary, framework, in the management of the free press, and so on. So this is just a brief note on what the European Parliament and the European citizens in providing and considering that we have to share the same values and we have to actually apply them. And the European Parliament is committed to that. On a different note, going back to what I wanted to share with you today. So the 2009 Lisbon Treaty provided the right to every European citizen to participate in the democratic life of the Union. But what does this exactly mean? Legally, it was created the European Citizens Initiative, that is an initiative from EU citizens that have set up a citizens committee that is registered by the European Commission. And within a year, this committee has to gather 1 million signatures from EU citizens in at least 7 member states. If this is done successfully, the proposed legislation is on the Commission's official agenda. The democratic legitimacy of the Union is a two-way street. So on the one hand, the EU institutions need to make sure its citizens are heard and feel represented. So this goes back to what I was referring to as a sense of belonging, which is crucial for the EU to function properly and for it to truly be a political project rather than just an economic one. Nonetheless, if we just stick to putting in place mechanisms, I believe it's probably not enough. And member states have an important role in passing the message of the importance of the EU for its citizens' day-to-day lives. The EU will only survive as long as its people want, as long as its people understand the importance of the project. If we look at Brexit, it is a clear example on how the lack of engagement and sense of belonging from the British led to the United Kingdom abandoning the European Union, and its citizens lost the EU citizenship. So their passports are back to refer only the United Kingdom, whereas our passports keep referring the European Union. So no EU country should ever stop worrying about this issue, or should continuously be looking for new ways of engagement between European citizens and EU institutions. I understand, for example, if we think about the press, EU affairs don't sell in the press, in our national media. And this is probably something that we should look into, because when we look at the amount of legislation approved at EU level and its impact at the national level, some numbers, for example, in Portugal, 80% of the national legislation comes from the European level, when we have to transpose directives, publish regulations in our national gazettes. So maybe there should be a different understanding, also with the contribution by the national media for the work that we do at the European level. And if I remember in the beginning of the pandemic, I remember the Portuguese public asking, well, where is the European Union? We need the European Union to solve this crisis. So there is some sense of belonging. There is some references to the crisis, but there's less references to the times where the European Union is prospering. So going back to the citizenship, the EU citizenship is not a static concept. There is a debate that is currently happening in what concerns the representative role of the members of the European Parliament, where they should represent their national constituents or all citizens to strengthen the European Parliament vis-a-vis the European Commission, to ensure that actually elected politicians have more power than not only elected non-elected technocrats, and if transnational lists should also exist during European Parliament elections. I was telling you in the beginning that by the treaties, the members of the European Parliament, they represent the Europeans. But the truth is, and the practice shows, that we tend to represent, or to be more sensitive to what is to the impacts of the legislation, of the negotiations that we do at the EU level, and its impact on the our own member state of election. So in my view, and this is also connected to the fact that the European Union is not a federal union. And also, if we look at the US, for example, there's not even transnational lists or transnational federal state lists in the US. So I question whether it is necessary to have such framework also in the European Union, because, well, the EU is not a federal union. It is not a state, and does not want to be a state. If we look at the nature and the essence for the creation of the European Union, we understand that that was not the purpose. And my feeling is that, of course, I don't have a closed opinion. It might change, but my feeling about the transnational lists is that it undermines somehow the representation the citizens have about the functioning of the EU as it works in the present today. So I'll finish this contribution, the participation, with maybe some food for thought, and I'll leave you a couple of questions to think about. In 25 years, what do you think the EU citizenship concept will mean? Do you think it means further integration, EU integration, or will anti-European and nationalist forces jeopardize the concept itself? I will finish by saying this. Being a European doesn't mean that we lose our historic and cultural roots. And I always refer to, when I speak about citizenship, that I am Portuguese and I am European. And I don't know to be one without the other. So I thank you very much, and I wish you a fruitful and productive conference.
Thank you for your time, Lidia. It's been a really interesting speech. So I don't know if someone here has some questions. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Muito obrigado, Lidia. Thank you very much. I have maybe two questions. One is related with the new generations. As one of the youngest members of the European Parliament, which are for you the main priorities, the main challenges that the young generations are facing in this moment? And if you think that the members of the European Parliament can act as the central agencies in the promotion of the relationship between citizens and the political powers. And as you mentioned, the idea of the European citizenship, maybe a brief look that you can give us about the intention of the two European political parties, the Identity and Democracy and the ECR, has bringing together in the future and the possible political power that these two groups can have in shaping the future of the European Union. Thank you very much.
Can I reply? I see Sergio nodding. Yolanda, I'm not sure. Should I reply to this question?
Yes, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Start answering this question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the question. And I think I would prefer to focus that the answer relies on the moderate parties. And I think we haven't had sufficient reflection about why the extreme parties rise. I'm not putting ECR in the same basket as the ID, but I put ID and the left in the European Parliament. And when I say the left, I'm referring to GUE. They changed their name now. In the same basket. They are Eurosceptic, they have an anti-European agenda, but the exercise we should do is maybe answering the question, why are these parties rising at the national level, contributing to an increase of the political groups, of its respective political groups in the European Parliament. And I think the answer to that is the fact that the moderate parties in the European Union, they are somehow stuck in the past. And they tend to contribute to the rise of these extreme or these radical parties. And why do I say that? I can tell you that just before the summer, I was in the hemicycle watching the debate about the rule of law in the Strasbourg session. And unfortunately, what I see is that the moderate parties, they don't have a clear answer to deal with what is happening in countries as Poland and Hungary. And instead of engaging in a more, I would say, centered and moderate political discourse, they tend to capture the whole debate, focusing on a political figure that I think such strategy instigates further distrust and Euroscepticism by those member states. And I'm clearly referring to Hungary and Poland, with more focus on Poland. I was watching such debates, and I saw the socialists, I saw the left in general, I saw the liberals focusing the rule of law debate only on one person, and not on a European reflection that we have to do, and an answer that we have to deliver, which is do we think the strategy that has been applied, and I haven't seen anyone with a proper recipe to resolve the issue, besides the mechanism that we have now in place that somehow prevents the use of the EU funds for countries that do not comply with the EU values. But I don't see a concrete answer on how we can deal with the European model, which is based in the Western model, in the American model, in countries that perhaps were not 100% ready for the application of such model. And I don't see any answer. I don't myself. Unfortunately, it's something that I usually think about, but I also don't have the answer. I hope that in the next years I will have the chance to work with other colleagues and with the academia to deliver on that. I know the situation is not good. It's not acceptable, but I also don't see the political willingness. And I see if I refer to the EU Council, because the Parliament has been vocal about it, but the Council doesn't take any action. So how do we deal with that? What concerns me is indeed the political discourse by certain political groups in the Parliament that I don't see it helping, nor in dialogue, nor in a concrete contribution, like a realistic approach to deal with the rise of nationalist and populist, or the strengthening of those already existing political parties. So to answer about the question about the increase of radical parties or radical political groups, I think the center and center moderates, center left, center right are not doing what is required. They don't speak to, they are not speaking to what people, what are the people's expectations, perspectives. For many, many years, they were sold with certain ideas, but somehow those ideas are not matching the reality. And therefore, I think it is time, we are not late, but it is time for the moderate parties to adapt, to adapt their narrative, to a certain extent, their ideology, because people are no longer making politics or engaged in the society as they used to be in the past. If we look at how people used to be engaged, they used to meet at the mass in the church for the mass, or they would meet at the church for a meeting for the interest of the community. But nowadays, people are in social media and they probably don't want to attend a meeting of an organization. They prefer to stay at home watching a Netflix series. So this all changed, but I don't see the same change applied in the political parties, in the moderate political parties. And I think it's somehow the reason why the other political parties or the radical political parties are increasing. So there's homework to do. Time is the clock is ticking. In what I can do in all the platforms that I'm engaged, either being president of the Youth of the European People's Party or being a member of my own party in Portugal, I am committed to somehow contribute for an update, a reform of my party to go in line with the expectations that people in the 21st century have, knowing that if we don't take action, the extremes will continue to increase, and in the end we might have not only Brexit but maybe some other departures from the EU, which is something that goes against the global objectives that we should have in mind. The pandemic revealed a shift or a change in the international order. And in a globalized world, it makes no sense that countries are alone. So I truly believe in this the European project. I am a proud European, even though I'm not federalist. But I know that the answers reside in being moderate. We should be proud of being moderate. If today, if we say that we are moderate, somehow we have people attacking us because we don't take one side of the barricade. And I also see that in the European Parliament, that was mentioning earlier, it is quite fragmented. The willingness of the political groups to cooperate is decreasing, even between the grand coalition that we have, the S&D, the Liberals and the EPP. And therefore, there's a lot of challenges, but I do know that the European Union is the best project in the world. Europe is the best continent to live, and we have to fight for what we have achieved, knowing that we cannot take for granted anything in the future. And also I will finish. We have to fight for democracy. It is not a perfect system, but it's the best system we can have. And we cannot engage in, I think, engaging in cancel culture movements also raise a lot of questions rather than delivering answers for the challenges of today. So yeah, I think we all have our contribution to make. I think this conference also delivers on that. And I'm always available for discussing and receiving ideas, contributions that can strengthen the European project, democracy, and people's lives.